In this week's episode, we look at different business models to scale, productivity hints and tips, and deception. Hey, and welcome to episode 55 of Business Greenhouse TV. I must apologize first. It's been a while since I did one of these. You know, the last few weeks have been hectic. It's that time of year for me where we start to look to the Kingdom Business Summit, which is our series of national seminars that we hold every March around that time. And it takes a lot of time, a lot of effort, you know. Currently negotiating with 4 venues, you know, and sifting through 4 contracts to sign off, and it takes a lot of brain power to slot those into our calendar and our events and our speakers and all of that, getting the prophetic team to come with us and looking at all those dates. So it's been a hectic time. Now here's the thing, I want you to do something for me straight off the bat. If you came to Kingdom Business Summit 2017, I want you to do me a huge favor. I want you to start tagging people in the comments that you think should be coming to Kingdom Business Summit 2018. I'm going to be bringing another whole round of amazing speakers around the country, fully free like it was this year. It'll always be free for you to attend 2 days of high energy, high impact business training. So if you came this year, do me a huge favor and start tagging people in the comments below that you want to start bringing for next year. Just type the first few letters of their name, it'll come up as a link, and just get them there. That'd be a real blessing for me if you'd start to share that message. That'd be awesome. Yes, we've got a lot to get through in this episode. Got some great questions. So let's go to question number 1.
Josh Davis asks, in regards to scaling, what are the pros and cons to franchising? Continuing company owned or alternate option, and what would you recommend? You know,
Josh, so there's 3 questions in one. What do I think about franchising? What do I think about company owned and another option? So I'm basically going to give you my thoughts on franchising and licensing, company owned, and then another option which you may not have thought of. I am always super cautious when it comes to franchising. You know, to me, it's had its day. Franchising, Australia was the franchising capital of the world. And every business franchised for a while there, and it was so trendy because the market wanted it. So it's not always a bad idea, but most people have a romantic notion about franchising. I would say to you that by choosing franchising, we're also choosing to live out of a suitcase for 2 years, to never see our family, to never have a social life, to, you know, living from hotel to hotel, from, you know, rejection to rejection to rejection, going to all the franchising expos, staying behind booking rooms, pitching. Because, you know, when you get 1, 2, 3 or 4 franchises, you're not making any money, but you've got to, you know, you've got to look after those people. You know, when you get 10 to 15 to 20, maybe at that point you are making money, but to get to that point is really hard. The other thing that's changed in franchising world is that the big upfronts that you used to get paid, you know, 30, 40, 50, 100, $200,000, like, you know, capital expense at the start that you got to expand, which was the beauty of it because you got paid upfront to scale your business. Those days are gone. Very few, you know, franchises can charge those big upfronts that keep that machine running. So interestingly, you know, the model has changed a lot. So I'd be real cautious. Now, you know, single person that doesn't have any, you know, dependents and things like that, maybe it does lend itself because you can be a bit more flexible and live on the road and live that kind of rogue life. But anybody else, I would say it's, you know, I'd steer really clear of it. Company-owned stores can obviously work, can work well. The biggest issue is that, you know, it's 2017. We live with a employee workforce that know their rights more than ever, and that is a good thing. Like we don't want to be taking advantage of anybody. But the independent body, you know, that oversees employees and employers is totally skewed towards the employee, which means they know their rights so much they take advantage of them. What that means is, you know, you could go and set up 20 corporate stores, and then they get all their sick days off, they have all their annual leave, they quit, they take you to Fair Work because you once said something to them that was a little bit rude, or you raised your voice, and now they're, you know, 3 weeks getting, you know, depressed, and and you have no power to control that because you can't multiply yourself 20 times. So it can work, but it's harder than it's ever been to get company-owned, you know, footprints to go around the country, for example, because you can't multiply. So it can work, but but it wouldn't be my best option. I'm going to give you my third option. This is what I think lends itself to that type of scaling, replicating model. So not franchising, not licensing, not company-owned stores. I'm going to suggest to you a way that some of the greatest companies in history have scaled. So you have, your own store that you've built up to, or maybe two, or, you've got your handful that you've created, time to scale. Hive all of those off in their own entity and start another entity. So let's say your first shop, I know yours is in Melbourne. Let's say you wanted to go into Sydney. You would start a brand new entity that's not related to your corporate stores. You start a brand new entity and you find the person that you're going to go into business partnership with. So this person is not just a staff member. You're going to find somebody who wants to run their own business, but maybe doesn't have the capital to get started. So you'll roll in the capital. They'll roll in their work ethic to get this thing to work. And you'd start a new entity and fit out the shop and start small, however you want to do it. But you start the entity as maybe an 80-20 split, meaning that they have 20% of the equity in that business and you have 80. So they have a small enough interest that they're chained to it. They're not just going to wake up on Monday morning after a big weekend at the races and not come in. They're actually going to treat it like their own business. And at the start of the relationship, you set a whole bunch of key performance indicators, milestones, and you say, when we hit this, it'll go 25, 75, you get 5% more. And when we hit this, you'll get 30%, I'll take 70%. And basically, as the owner, you ratchet down your ownership to the other person as they hit a key milestones. And over time, it might be that they own 80% of it and you get 20, which basically means at the end of the year, when there's a profit, you get 20% of that profit and you get to take it. I really like the strategy because it tests the person. You're not going to give them the keys to the kingdom in the first 12 months. You're going to have to work for years to get there. And the 50-50 milestone, when you relinquish 50% to them, so they have more equity than you, by that time you absolutely have to know their character. Okay, by then there can be no question about the character of the human being, not about their skills, but their character. Because at that point you're kind of relinquishing some control and it'd be even harder to fight back for it, okay? But once you've got that model set up, you can then replicate that and you're not the one having to run all the other sites, so you can scale and they are the ones have a vested interest to make it work. You're bringing the skills, you're bringing the systems, you're bringing the brand, you're bringing the knowledge, the coaching, the leadership, and they are just there building their local store and prospering greatly from it, all right? That would be the third option that I would go with to scale. You don't fall under the franchising code of conduct. You certainly don't want to be licensing because you don't have control. This way you have the ultimate control. You still get to scale and you get a really big footprint in a short amount of time. Great question.
Cara Dixon asks, what are your 3 best business productivity tips?
Cara, I'm going to give you 3, and the first one is not really a tip, but I think it's the most important part of productivity. I would say to you that the number one way to get really high level productivity is when you have a big enough vision, right? This is not a tactic, this is not a trick, this is not a skill, a hack. This is literally what it comes down to is when you absolutely have a burning desire to see your business or your organization, become what's in your mind, then productivity is never an issue, right? You just get up and you go and you do that every single day that you're at work. And while you're at work, you are working super hard, making every minute count. And then, you can't wait to get back to work again to do it again. When you've got that real clear crystal picture of what you're trying to build, then productivity increases by default, okay? So that's one. But I'll give you this hint and tip in terms of productivity. So many people, in a way, I think they think too highly of themselves. Whenever the computer goes ding, they race off to see what email just came in, or whenever their phone rings, they answer it. And I don't do that. I think I probably answer. I probably answer some of the calls that come in of names I recognize. I reckon I answer 1% of calls that come in of numbers I don't recognize. They just all go to voicemail, I just pick up the ones I want, and I return those calls. If it's a number I don't recognize, I never answer it because I don't want to disrupt what I'm doing to go to that. So I would say to you that one of the best productivity hacks is you have a voicemail on your phone that says, thanks for calling, your call is important to me. I return everybody's phone call at 12 o'clock midday and 4 p.m. in the afternoon. So I look forward to speaking to you at one of those times. So you basically all morning, you let the calls back up, you listen to them, you write them down, you call back the ones you want to call back, and you action those. And you do that 12 and 4. Emails, you can turn off automatic download. You can set it to manual. So you go when you go download, all your emails come in, or you can do it every hour or twice a day or whatever. It's starting to drive time instead of letting time drive you. And email and phone, I think, is one area that we waste a lot of time. I mean, I typically don't. I keep my calls short and sharp and to the point. But I used to let them go on forever. And I used to find at the end of the day, wasted an hour on 7 phone calls and emails and stuff like that. So literally just those things alone would be beneficial. The third thing that I would do is what we call a default diary, okay? It's essentially your ideal week. It's not even that amazing. You just go and get an Excel spreadsheet, right? Down the left-hand side, you've got, whatever your time you work, 7 a.m. to 5 p.m., whatever it is for you, in 10-minute increments all the way down the left. Across the top, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, maybe Saturday if you work Saturday or Sunday or whatever. And you just start to color it in colored blocks according to the tasks that you need to be doing, all right? So you assign, red will be my marketing, green will be sales, blue will be productivity, yellow will be accounts, whatever. And you just start to put them into this ideal week. And you allocate time. So you say 7 till 8 in the morning is my Bible reading time or going for a walk or whatever. 8 till 9:30 is I'm answering the emails that came in overnight. 10 o'clock to 12 o'clock on a Monday morning, I'm going to call all my team members and get them inspired. In the afternoon, I'm going to go to finishing my quotes. And then Tuesday morning, I'm going to go on site all morning. And then Thursday afternoon, I'm on site. And Friday morning, I'm on site. And you just start to slot in all of the tasks you need in a week, leaving some small gaps in the week. You can't just fill up the entire week. You've got to leave some white space for fudging or for massive dramas that come up and so forth. And what happens is, the power in it is that when you're doing your quotes and in your mind you're thinking, oh man, I haven't got to my accounts yet, you don't have to worry because that's tomorrow morning at 9 o'clock. And then when your accounts, you don't have to be thinking, oh man, I've got so many jobs to do because in fact, that's my next block of time and that's my next block. And then I don't have to worry about the boys on site because I'm scheduled to go there tomorrow morning, right? So it factors everything into the week so that you don't need to worry about the tasks you're not on when you're on a task because you know it's coming. And typically the way you do this is you design one with your best knowledge, you go and do it Monday to Saturday, and then by the end of it, you're going to see where it falls short. I didn't leave enough time for accounts. I didn't leave enough time for quoting. I didn't leave enough time for emails and phone calls. And you just adjust them all accordingly, and then you run it. And the discipline is the biggest part, because then you've got to go stick to it, okay? But it literally means that when the dinger goes off and says you finished your time on quotes right now, you need to move on to accounts, you go to accounts. Because you know that it's not lost time because you can come back to your quotes at the end of the day. Okay, so just basically doing that. Now, just on the fly, I'll try and save you half an hour of your life here and you can get my template, all right? I'm gonna put my template up. So why don't we just go to Business Greenhouse, we'll put this up along the bottom here, businessgreenhouse.com.au/diary. You can just go there right now and you can download our little template and we'll just email it straight out. And you can make your own, but it'll just save you a few minutes of time to go and make it. You just assign it a color and drop it all in and that'll be easy for you. Just go to businessgreenhouse.com.au/diary and you can go and get my copy and we'll just send it straight out to you. All right, let's go to Word of the Week. All right, this week we go to Proverbs. We're going to go to Proverbs 11:4. And it says this: wealth is worthless in the day of wrath, but righteousness delivers from death. My question to you is this: where is our focus? Where is our focus? Obviously, we all know that, come to the end of our life, we're going to be called up. We hope to hear those words, good and faithful servant, and come in and spend eternity with the Lord. That's our ultimate desire. And if you've got faith that Jesus lived, then good on you, because that's the outcome for you. But it says wealth is worthless in the day of wrath. It doesn't say wealth is worthless on the way up to the day of wrath. It doesn't say that. So, this isn't like an anti-money message. I'm a businessman. But righteousness delivers from death. So here's my thing, right? Business people, we are wired for finance. We are wired for wealth. Why? Because we know that it can have a huge amount of impact, okay? When you have wealth, you can fund projects, you can do the things the Lord asks you to do, you can support people. The whole reason why we go and build a business is so that we can, look after ourselves and leave an inheritance to our family, but also so we can fund projects and advance the gospel. That's why we're trying to do all of this. But it's so easy with the social engineering and the societal hypnosis that goes on, that just over time, without being intentional, we shift ever so slightly, right, from focusing on righteousness to ever so slightly focusing on wealth. And when it comes to the end, there's only one that's going to help us out, all right? You know, this has been made even harder, I think, by some of the most prominent preachers in the world who have mixed those two together and somehow put wealth inside righteousness or vice versa and kind of diluted the distinction, which is hugely dangerous. You know, you could have all the money in the world, it ain't going to get you in, all right? So you know that, I know that. So I want to make sure, see, to me, as I've pursued righteousness and worked on my character and tried to become more like God and fund the projects and listen to the Holy Spirit, do everything He says, and we all make mistakes, of course, but as I've pursued that, the wealth has been a byproduct, isn't it? There's no better word. You know, every year our businesses that we're interested in have prospered. Our properties have increased. Like wealth has been a phenomenal byproduct, but it's never been our focus. Our focus has been righteousness. We might have had short-term goals for finance because we're business people, but in terms of our lifelong focus and what we want to stand the test of time, it cannot be wealth at all. It's just going to give you nothing at the end of your life. We just need to make sure that we are, and society will dilute it down. It'll just try and steal your focus away from righteousness and onto shiny things. And I would say to you that when that happens, it's fine, but we have to keep shifting back to righteousness because it's the only thing that's going to matter in the end. Well, I hope that was valuable for you. I'll be back next week to do some more of these. If you came to the summit, please start tagging some friends. I want to herald this message. The summits are going to be even bigger in 2018 than they were in 2017, and I need your help to get me there. I'll see you next week. Bye for now.